Good morning. Welcome to the HR Show, coming to you at thehrshow.co.uk on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google, YouTube, and wherever else you listen or watch the show. My name is Andy Evans. Coming up this week, it's the announcement that we've kind of all been waiting for. Terminus Day. Boris Johnson has announced the easing of the COVID-19 restrictions. We're going to be talking about it right here on the show this week. Now, if you would like to get in contact with me, let's do the contact details first of all. You certainly can do. Please email me, studio@thehrshow.co.uk. It's andy@thehrshow.co.uk as well. Or join us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at The HR Show. Right. Yesterday, as we record this, July the 5th, 2021 at 5 o'clock, Boris Johnson took to the stage at Downing Street and announced what was going to be happening on the fourth part of the government's roadmap. And he announced it was all coming to an end. The restrictions all being eased. Face masks not being legally required. Social distancing coming to an end. In fact, let's go to the video from yesterday and find out exactly what he said.
The decision on the 12th of July, let me set out today our 5-point plan for living with COVID in the hope that it will give families and businesses time to prepare. First, we will reinforce our vaccine wall, reducing the dose interval for under 40s from 12 weeks to 8, so that everyone over 18 should be double jabbed by the middle of September, in addition to our autumn programme of booster vaccines for the most vulnerable. Second, we will change the basic tools that we have used to control human behaviour. We'll move away from legal restrictions and allow people to make their own informed decisions about how to manage the virus. From step 4, we will remove all legal limits on the numbers meeting indoors and outdoors. We will allow all businesses to reopen, including nightclubs. We will lift the limit on named visitors to care homes and on numbers of people attending concerts, theatre and sports events. We will end the 1 metre plus rule on social distancing and the legal obligation to wear a face covering, although guidance will suggest where you might choose to do so, especially when cases are rising and where you come into contact with people you don't normally meet in enclosed spaces, such as obviously crowded public transport. It will no longer be necessary for government to instruct people to work from home, so employers will be able to start planning a safe return to the workplace. There will be no COVID certificate required as a condition of entry to any venue or event, although businesses and events can certainly make use of certification, and the NHS app gives you a COVID pass as one way to show your COVID status. Third, we will continue from step 4 to manage the virus with a test, trace and isolate system that is proportionate to the pandemic. You will have to self-isolate if you test positive or are told to do so by NHS Test and Trace. But we're looking to move to a different regime for fully vaccinated contacts of those testing positive, and also for children. And tomorrow, the Education Secretary will announce our plans to maintain key protections, but remove bubbles and contact isolation for pupils. Fourth, from step 4, we will maintain our tough border controls, including the red list, and recognizing the protection afforded by 2 doses of vaccine, we will work with the travel industry towards removing the need for fully vaccinated arrivals to isolate on return from an amber country, and the Transport Secretary will provide a further update later this week. Last, we will continue to monitor the data and retain contingency measures to help manage the virus during higher risk periods such as the winter. But we will place an emphasis on strengthened guidance and do everything possible to avoid reimposing restrictions with all the costs that they bring.
So there you have it. There is the announcement by Boris Johnson announcing the easing of restrictions. But what you didn't hear in that little video clip was this quote. It's very far from the end of dealing with this virus. He suggested there could be as many as 50,000 coronavirus cases per day by the 19th of July, by Terminus Day. Labour then accused the government of being reckless by aiming to remove the majority of measures in 2 weeks' time. And Johnson was also criticised for scrapping the legal requirements on face masks. So answer me this question. Johnson has said that he's going to be led by the data. They're not going to get that data until this week. So how can you make an announcement yesterday announcing the scrapping of all restrictions if you do not have the scientific data to back it up? He said a couple of interesting things in that video. The first one being that test and trace is going to continue. Well, how can test and trace continue when he's removing the requirement to scan the QR code when you enter a hospitality or any venue? Now, don't get me wrong. I understand completely how the hospitality sector and businesses here in the UK have been affected by this pandemic. And I understand there is a requirement for us to get back to normal. But we cannot do this in one hit. You cannot pull the plaster off and say everything is going to be fine, we're going to get back to normal. Because we're not. COVID is not going to be going away. We need to learn to live with it, but we need to do this in a sensible and logical manner. The easing of restrictions can still happen, but we should be doing this now on a step-by-step basis, because all that is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are going to be going back into a lockdown from September or the winter. And we can pretty much see that happening. So let's summarize what he said was going to happen on the 19th of July. There is going to be no more limits on social contact, allowing people to gather in groups of any size. There is going to be the removal of the 1 meter plus rule in almost all settings. There's going to be all remaining businesses, including nightclubs, are going to be able to reopen. These nightclubs are going to be dens for where COVID is going to grow and fester and infect. There is going to be no capacity caps on large-scale events such as sports matches, theatres or concerts. There's going to be no legal requirement on wearing face masks in shops or on public transport. The government will no longer require people to work from home, and no more limits on the number of people who are able to visit those who live within care homes. So yes, there are some good things coming out of this. Theatres back and the arts back. But why the removal of face masks? Face masks help to prevent the spread of COVID-19. To me, what he is saying is, that's it. We've had enough trying to manage this. We have had enough of being criticized by businesses and hospitality sectors and pubs and clubs and anything else you want to think of about having to have COVID restrictions. And we are going to go like that, and we're going to wipe our hands with it, throw it away, and say, you lot, as in the general public, have got to take responsibility. The problem with that, ladies and gentlemen, is I don't know if we're capable of taking responsibility to look after it, because some people don't even wear masks now. He has suffered backlash because of this. Doctors, mayors, trade unions, health charities are among those who have expressed fears over the relaxed measures. Labour leader Keir Starmer also warned that the lifting of restrictions in one go would be reckless, and is calling for face coverings to remain mandatory on public transport. He said, and we quote, "To throw off all protections at the same time when the infection rate is still going up is reckless. We need a balanced approach. We need to keep key protections in place, including masks, including ventilation, and crucially, proper payments to those who need to self-isolate." Dr. Chand Nagpal of the British Medical Association said it was increasingly concerning for Johnson to decide to go full steam on easing measures, despite warnings over rising cases and deaths. He continued by urging ministers to ensure the wearing of masks is compulsory until the spread of infection has been brought under control and more of the population vaccinated. Liverpool City Region Mayor Steve Rotherham highlighted a YouGov poll that showed 71% of people wanted face masks to continue to be mandatory on public opinions. And he quoted, and I tweet, "The only opinions that Johnson seems to care about are those of his backbenchers." Sadiq Khan said further discussions would be held between the capital's transport bosses and the government. As he says on Twitter, and I quote, "My mask protects you, your mask protects me." I was reading the local paper that we have here online last night and reading some of the comments that people have put on there regarding the removal of masks and the removal of restrictions. And I have to say, I was shocked and saddened by what I was reading. Anti-vaxxers coming out saying, finally, people have seen the light. Finally, we get back to normal. There is, ladies and gentlemen, no going back to normal. We're not going to be able to go back to normal. We are going to be living with this virus for the foreseeable future. As a father, as a businessman, as a podcaster, whatever you want to do, as a husband, am I nervous? Absolutely. Do I think that the government are being reckless? Absolutely. Do I think that people in the general public are going to abuse it? Absolutely. It is too quick, it is too soon, and it is too early. And all people are worrying about is being able to go back to a nightclub, being able to go and stand in a bar and have a beer. What about those that have lost loved ones? What about those 145,000 people that have died? Where is our care for their families? What do you think? Let us know. studio@theHRshow.co.uk or tweet me at the HR Show. I'll be really intrigued to know what you think about the easing of lockdown restrictions. Are you nervous? Are you worried? Do you think it's been handled right? Do you think it's been handled wrong? Let me know. Until next time, I'll see you very soon. Take care.